5, 4, 0.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I'm sorry. We played a little trick just a second ago. It was epic. Anyway, we are here learning Bigfoot with none other than Zach from Rooted Expeditions. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for letting me surprise you with the fact you're going to be our guest today.
Yeah, news to me.
But
man.
But yeah, no, I mean, we can learn from you too. That I didn't even know, for example, I didn't even know that wood boogers is what you called them. I mean, I thought everyone was just called them Sasquatch. So, I mean, we really didn't know.
Yeah. Well, that's a funny story though, because I actually got wood booger from Kerry from Bigfoot Odyssey. He
Really?
would do his intros on his documentaries, and he would start naming all these names that Bigfoot go by, and one of them was wood booger, and I was like, I like that. I said, I'm gonna start calling
That one's
wood
stuck.
boogers. Yeah, it's stuck. So
I like it.
oh wow,
I like it.
Well, the fact of the matter is I mean, we've had a few guests on here that keep saying, you know, they're not a Bigfoot enthusiast and stuff like that, but we all have theories. We all have viewpoints in other realms that could actually still tie into it all. And so with that in mind, you have been in communication a lot with the Bigfoot Odyssey, with Carrie. You have been talking a lot with Danielle. You're on their shows
Bigfoot community.
periodically. So you're hearing a lot of those conversations. So you're picking up on the information they're putting out. I mean, you may not be going out pursuing it directly. You may not be doing it, but you're hearing a lot, and you're able to compare what you're hearing to, yeah, I hear this more often than not. And I don't hear that as much.
yeah, of course.
So in a way, you're still researching it, but you're researching it by being on the show and doing stuff like that. So
Yeah,
that the viewpoints behind it is what I think is interesting, because you do a lot of research on a lot of different topics. I mean, you do. And so
Yeah, you do.
sometimes there's a connection between two topics that you never realize that there was a connection until you actually have a conversation with somebody, and that light bulb goes off and you realize, oh, you know, I never
Yeah.
thought of it that way, but that makes sense, you know?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, we could talk about our conversations about the reduction mill of hours that I mean, that turned into a whole 2-hour conversation.
Yeah, it did.
You know,
Yeah,
and it was something we didn't even think about.
Nope, never
Yeah.
crossed my mind.
So, you know, with that being said, I do, again, like Marianne said, thanks for being on the show. Not as a co-host, but as an actual guest.
I didn't really give him a
wait.
choice.
Do I still have to? Do I still monitor the chat? Do I?
Nope. We have that under control, because I mean, I know there's a lot going in on the chat right now, but I think we could handle that for the time being. It's
There's a
all right.
lot. I can't even keep up right now.
I know.
Yeah, I might
It
have to
won't.
slow
It
the
won't.
chat
It
down.
won't even let me scroll.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, give it a minute. It'll probably refresh, and you'll probably see more conversations rolling. But no, I mean, in all honesty, you're the one who actually introduced us to the whole world of Bigfoot.
Mhm.
You're the one who introduced us to Daniela. You're the one who introduced us to Carrie, and you're in contact with a lot of people in the Bigfoot community from being on their shows and stuff already. So more than likely, we wouldn't be planning this November trip to Florida to be with Bigfoot Odyssey if you hadn't have introduced us and been the catalyst for us to start a conversation and move forward from there. So you really do deserve a lot of credit for this entire show even coming to reality.
100%.
I don't even know how to say what to say to that. But I just be myself, and just I believe everything happens for a reason, and you guys got set up in a pretty good spot, and you're actually going to get some really good content. Sounds like in November, and especially to be part of the filming crew, the actual filming crew. That's pretty cool, I think.
We're excited.
It's really cool, and I mean, I know that we're trying to learn as much about Bigfoot and watch for certain cues and things like that. But our job when we're there is to film the researchers and film what they're doing and where they're going. But understanding what they're doing, why they're doing it, also gives us an advantage as far as how we want to film it. You
Yeah.
know, so we could relay exactly that. This is why they're doing it, and we'll be able to catch more visual details tying into it. Um, I had never heard of using apples as offerings. I mean, till we started doing the show, I'd never thought people would actually leave offerings for Bigfoot.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
And they call it gifting for some reason, and I don't quite understand. I'm still learning about that. I don't know. I hear that word thrown around a lot when you give stuff as a gifting. They call it, it's like gifting. It's like, when I don't think of it like that. I think of it more, and this is just me. I am not an expert. I just I consider myself an outsider looking into the Bigfoot world, as not really a skeptic, but someone that doesn't have any knowledge, but coming with different views or just new set of eyes, I guess. And so it's like giving an animal out in the wilderness, like, you see, say, a stray cat or whatever. Choose that for example. Stray cat, you give it some food or whatever. I wouldn't consider that gifting, or you see, I don't know, like a coyote out there, and you throw some meat out there. It's not. I wouldn't really consider that gifting. So when they say gifting, I still don't know what that really truly means, because I've heard of people saying it in different ways. So I don't know. But yeah, I hear apples a lot.
Yeah.
Apples and peanut butter being given a lot.
Yeah.
Peanut butter.
I hadn't heard the peanut butter. That's known. Do they put the peanut butter in the apple? Because those are so good.
I know. I was going to say that actually sounds really good right now.
Those are so good.
I'd take one.
I'd take a gifting. But
and I'm sure there's other stuff they give too. But apple being one of the main things that I hear a lot from different people's apples. So fresh apples. So.
Well, Cryptid Outlaw points out that a stray cat is not an intelligent
I would
being.
agree.
And that brings up that aspect of it. I mean, if you have something out there that can move around without being noticed, they can strategize and circle you and have one distract you while the other ones are doing something behind you.
Yeah.
I mean, from that aspect, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That it's kind of different than giving food to a stray cat or throwing some meat out in the field for something. But I don't know if that's how they would perceive it. Maybe they perceive it like you just sat it down and forgot about it.
I'm gonna get slaughtered for this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Okay, are you? Yeah, I got it. So everyone can hear. I know you're all gonna kill me for this, but I see that as bait. To me, it's bait. Now, it's not necessarily bait to kill, like an animal you would go and bait for for food or whatever, like a deer or something. It's not like that, but you're still drawing it in.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's the difference. I know y'all are going to kill me, but to me, it's like, it's just baiting to see if you get what you're looking for to come to you.
I got it. Put a little clicker inside of it, and then you could call it clickbait. Sorry. I a little bit of history.
I'm new, guys. I don't know nothing. So.
I mean, okay, so we have don't we have trackers that are like super, super tiny that we could throw and put inside apple, and could they eat it and it track them? See, but these are questions that I have, like stuff like that I don't hear anybody talking about. But like, again, like, I don't know. I mean, you could be right. I mean, it could be giving these to draw them in. I mean, or some people could be giving food just to give them food. could be nice. I don't
Right.
know. Or some could be like I think somebody said in the chat, they're peace offering.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Well, you know, establishing some kind of a connection with whatever it is that's out there.
Mhm.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's huge. And if they recognize you as, uh, I want to say non-threatening, but I think most Bigfoot view most people as non-threatening, unless they're holding a gun, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so just showing them that you're A, non-threatening, and B, you want to communicate on some level, doing that on a basis and getting them used to coming around, and whenever they pick up your scent or they know you're in the area,
Yeah.
they know you're going to be leaving a gift or bait or whatever you want to call it. I like the word offering, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just because you're offering them some kind of a food that to them may be like a candy or a snack or some kind of a treat, something that they don't normally eat, and
Hmm.
establishing some form of a bond with them, just so they know that you know you're a friendly. You're there to do what you're doing. You're not trying to harm anything or threaten anything.
Yeah.
You're just curious because part of me wonders how curious they are about us still. You know, because they observe us when we don't realize that they're observing us. We're doing things when, and they're watching us when we don't realize it. I mean, going out into the woods to use the bathroom when you're by yourself, and imagine one standing right there and just watching you use the bathroom. It sounds awkward, but at the same time, how much information are they getting from something like that? Because the sense of smell a dog has,
Right. That's
it
true.
can what's the word I'm looking for? Differentiate.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's a big word. It's out of my vocabulary. But they could identify different smells for
Mhm.
different types of food, different
Yeah.
types of things you drank, different. I mean,
That's true.
you're just going out and using the bathroom could be giving them so much information about you and who you are. They might be forming opinions about, you know, what you're there to do. You
Yeah.
know, and it's kind of scary to think about because they might know so much about us and we still know very little. We might have a footprint. We might have some fur samples or hair samples. We might have had some sightings. But I mean, I remember hearing a couple of those stories, and don't hold me to them being truth or not, but I remember hearing a couple of stories where the family was camping out in the woods. A kid disappeared and got lost somewhere in the woods, and a big I can't remember how they described it, but something like a big ape or something actually cared for them and took care of them and then led them back to their family when it could, you
Hmm.
know. And it
Interesting.
almost makes you think that maybe those were Sasquatch because they knew that it was somebody's kid, they knew it was non-threatening, they knew it needed help, and they were willing to help,
Hmm.
Yeah.
you know. Um, but when a kid comes back and says this big hairy man, you know, took me to a cave and kept me
Mm.
warm and fed me, most adults are going to hear that and say something sounds wrong here. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
but in all right reality, maybe that's what a kid would perceive it as. Because
Yeah.
I could only imagine if I was a child and I saw a Bigfoot without realizing what it was named or without realizing any of the stories behind it, would I mistake it for just a large hairy man? I don't know. But
I mean, I heard a story real similar to that where a girl was taken from in the woods for I think I can't remember if it was a day or two, but she called it a bear. You know, bear
Yeah.
picked
That's
her
what I
up
was
and
gonna say.
carried her, and
And you're
so
they can't carry. Yeah.
no, they can't. So it makes you wonder. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
big hairy bear carried her out of there. I mean,
Yeah.
was a dog
Well,
man?
and we
Was
have
it
heard
Bigfoot?
stories about other kids in other places too being taken care of by other animals, wolves, and what have you. It's not common, but it happens. So who's to say that, like Josh said, who's to say that that's never happened? I believe it absolutely could,
mm-hmm.
and it makes sense with the stories. Young kids, they can't describe it. They don't know anything. They just a big bear.
And again, we're acknowledging that their level of intelligence is much higher than just the forest animals we know. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
it's
also, I think going off, and I could be way off here, but just my thought when you hear kids talk about stuff like this, it's to me, I feel like it's more credible because why does a kid have a reason to lie about what happened to them in the woods versus somebody else that might be trying to get noticed by people? We don't know that, but
Exactly.
could be more common that, an adult would want to seek fame or seek, to be in the spotlight for something when a kid doesn't even know what the spotlight really is.
right.
So, I mean, it is interesting when you start hearing kids describe, even if it's off a little bit, it still makes you think like, okay, like for example, we know a bear can't walk and carry a kid, right? And I mean, I don't think it could. I mean, I guess it could, but I don't think there's a possibility. But it makes you wonder. It's like, okay, something hairy. I mean, it's close. Something hairy carried her off, you know, or like you said, a big hairy man, you
Mhm.
know, carried. I don't know. It's interesting.
Really starts to make you think. I mean,
It does.
how many more children have actually had Bigfoot sightings and they didn't even realize that's what it was?
Yeah,
You know,
Sandra says, "What do you think about? Oops. What do you think about people that get zapped when they see a Bigfoot?"
zapped. Um, you mean shocked,
I'm guessing I haven't heard of that.
I haven't
So,
either. I'm curious.
Sandra? Do you mean shocked? Like a zapped? Uh, so that's probably what it is. Shocked. I don't know. That's a question that I have. Is I want to see it, but at the same time I don't, because hearing what other people, even though the people that know about it, when they have that experience, their whole demeanor changes.
Mm-hmm.
I remember having just a glimpse of the experience that I have, not Bigfoot, and it terrified me. I mean, it shook me so much that I didn't move. And the dog that was not scared of anything and Chase Ghost, yes, Chase Ghost, uh, and it didn't move. So I think there's something about it when you see something that I guess our brains can't comprehend. Makes us.
mhm.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question because I wouldn't know what I wouldn't know what I would do. I mean, I don't know. I just know that it could possibly seeing a creature like that could possibly change my demeanor and how I go into the woods, even though if I know what I know right now,
Mhm.
how I act probably outside of the woods. So
Well, for me, I think a lot of people would speculate how they'd react. Oh, I'd start trying to talk to it, or I'd shoot it, or I'd run away. But I don't think anybody would ever truly know. Same as a lot of other things, face to face with a ghost, face to face with a Bigfoot, face to face. I mean, I think the first thing that most people would have happen is their brain, they're gonna pause. They're gonna try to process what they're looking at
yeah,
in a way that the brain can make sense of what they're staring at. So I think the initial moment of what the hell is that and how do I identify it, or what's the closest thing I can identify it to? I think
oh,
that's usually the first step.
Sandra says no. The feel that they got zapped. I've never heard of that.
I haven't either.
I haven't
I
either.
have not heard of that, Sandra. Uh,
Interesting.
that is interesting. I haven't heard of that.
But it kind of makes sense though if you hear all the other stories about balls of light that people see at the same time or right before. Do you know people talking about like the orbs and different
Yeah,
lights and things like that? So it kind of makes you wonder if there is some sort of extra intense energy or some sort of energy field or some sort of aura that they have that affects people that way. I'm just throwing it out there because that's the only thing I can tie it
it's
to, but it
it's
kind of makes sense.
and it's
Hmm.
funny because before when I first started hearing everybody talk when I first came in to listen to all these stories, I was really on at first going, okay, I do believe there's a Bigfoot, but maybe Bigfoot's translucent,
Mm.
and maybe it does go into the orb. And then I start listening to more stories, and I go, maybe there's two different entities working together. You know, maybe it is two different entities.
could
Maybe
be.
what what Jay saw, that orb, maybe it was something else. I mean, I'm just speaking my opinion. I
Mhm.
don't know. Maybe it is something else.
Hmm.
Because listening to texts, talk about this, where there's been clearly been several sightings of Bigfoot where we went, but he also talks about this other dark entity that's just I guess filled with darkness,
Hmm.
and it's not a physical figure, if that makes sense. So when you hear that and he says, it's about 7-8 feet tall, I'm like, okay, well this makes sense because I've seen creatures that are not physical that are 7-8 foot tall. So it makes sense that there could be an evil entity out there alongside of whatever these physical Bigfoot creatures are.
Hmm.
So it makes you think. I mean, when you start gathering all this stuff from what you hear, that's just kind of what I gathered. Is it right? I don't know.
And that's a good thing about this show is we're not stating anything as fact. We're not stating like we know any of this. We're throwing theories around. We're throwing ideas around. We're throwing
Hmm.
things like that. But I think that's how you learn is you have conversations with people. You bounce ideas off everybody, and then you go out and you try it. Just see what things actually work for you and what things actually don't work for you. Um, the one thing you were saying about something working alongside of a Bigfoot is I understand, and I think most people understand that every living creature that's on the planet that we're aware of is a carbon based creature. We're all carbon based. But if there was a life form on this planet that was a non carbon based
Hmm.
life form, that could open up a whole other can of
I had never
worms.
thought of that.
So I mean, we know what we can control, we know what we can see, we know what we can feel, but it's all carbon based. Even plants are carbon based.
What
Everything
would it
is.
be then?
That's just it. Maybe we're not advanced enough to understand that yet, to know what it would be. But
And
I
I
mean,
can't remember
it's
who we had on too. Is that these entities can see, or not entities? I'm not saying entities, but these creatures could see our aura. And that kind of really piques my interest because when you put when you put some sunglasses on, polarized sunglasses, you can see people's tint, the little square on their tent on their windows.
mhm.
mm-hmm.
Just imagine having you know eyesight similar to that, being able to see stuff that you can't see with our naked eye.
Right.
It
I
just
love them
made
for fishing. Because think about it. Think of how helpful that is. That filter is for fishing. Every time you have that on, you put those polarized glasses on. The glare is gone. You can see all the fish. How helpful would that be to catch your prey?
Spooky.
Spooky.
If we're
you
the
know
prey,
some
that's spooky.
Hopefully, we're not the prey.
it's interesting. I mean, when I don't know. I mean, I just sit back and listen and keep listening and trying to put it together for myself. And
Mhm.
once I think I have it, I'm back starting all over again. You know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mostly I'm listening to similarities that I'm
Yes.
picking up in different stories. It may be phrased different, it may be called different, but I'm
Yes.
constantly looking for similarities in what they're talking about. So, Cryptid Outlaw reports of people feeling sick or dizzy and frozen in tracks and saying it was something the Bigfoot did to them somehow. I think it was what Zet means from reports I have heard reported.
Oh, like it
Okay.
stunned them, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, because
That
could
would
that
make
be a
sense.
fear? I mean, fear can make you sick.
It
Fear
could
can make
be.
you dizzy. Fear can make you be frozen in tracks and can't move. I mean,
Yeah, you're paralyzed with fear. It
yeah,
could. It could have been.
But also, again, being frozen at first when you see it, your brain is trying to process what it's looking at and what it could closely relate it to.
yeah,
Second of all, I mean, if these creatures can come up with these different types of noises, like high pitches and low groans, if they can come up with I can't remember what the frequency, but there's a really low frequency that if you play it around people,
Mm.
they get a sense of feeling really uneasy and feeling nauseous. And I cannot remember what the frequency is,
I
but
can't
it's a
remember.
very, very low frequency.
Yeah.
And
Maybe.
if they could emit that, I mean, what better way to disable your threat than to just hit them with sound?
I mean,
Very
if
good.
dogs have
Possible.
dog whistles and we can't hear them,
Makes
you know,
sense. Makes
it
sense.
that's a very good point. And man, if you're equipped with that, that would be, like you said, a very good way to stop your threat in its tracks without them even knowing you're there.
Hmm. Looks like Bigfoot and On's loudmouth probably said something like that. But oh man,
I'll
hey
give you
Mike,
inches is big.
Wow, Mike.
Woohoo! Thank
Zep with
you.
infrasound. Okay, so I'm starting
Yeah,
to feel
no.
sick.
Infrasound. So is that what it is? Is infrasound?
I
I mean,
guess.
that's what it seems like from what they're saying in the chat here. I
Hmm.
mean, maybe it. I, I think, my opinion, and like I said, it's just me. You know, I really think it has a lot to do with fear. I mean, again, you know, I was inside. This creature that I experienced was outside. I couldn't move at all. I was literally frozen in fear, and the dog standing right next to me. I remember frozen in fear,
Hmm.
and I look down, and then as soon as I look down at the dog looks up at me, and it was that moment of, "Are you going to do something about it?" And then the dog's looking at me, "Are you going to do something about this?" You know, and it's like that moment. So,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a good question because
Hmm.
if that's the case, we're in trouble. You know what
Well,
I mean?
Yeah.
well, I'm going to give a little bit of a hint towards a spoiler alert, but it's not really a spoiler alert. So just don't worry, it's not a
He's
spoiler
already
alert.
consoling me.
It'll be all right.
All
It'll
right.
be all right. I
Okay.
promise. But we were out doing a scaranoia experience
Yes, we
last night,
were.
and we had an experience. And later on, it was in the woods. Later
Yeah, it
on,
was.
I did a 30-minute alone challenge in the woods where we had this experience. And
Oh, shoot.
it's a little bit different to me if you're going out there hunting and you have your gear, you have, your supplies to pack out for the night, stuff like that. You're familiar with the area, um, versus just randomly walking out into the middle of some woods that you've never been to, going in as far as you can, pitch black except a bright light shining in your face, so you can't even see 3 feet in front of you because you're showing the camera what you're going
Mm-hmm.
through, and seeing big piles of, I guess you call it scat,
Oh, uh-huh.
and then footprints that are bigger than your foot. Animal prints. It wasn't like a big footprint, but it was like a moose or something.
Moosers.
Just really big prints. And
Sweet.
you're walking down this trail, and you're all like, you realizing that you're walking down one of their regular paths that they take. 1 o'clock in the morning, wondering, are you going to stumble across one of these things? Is one of them going to come up behind you? You start hearing all kinds of crazy things. You start seeing all kinds of crazy things,
Yeah.
and just just I guess the euphoria of being there in that moment, already feeling like you shouldn't be there, and then being in that mindset and then coming across one of those things.
Mm.
I mean, the area we were in was really just had a creepy feel to it, just as it
Yes,
was.
it did.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was a tree,
Yeah.
and this isn't a big spoiler alert,
No.
but there was a tree that came out of the ground, bent completely, and the top half of the tree was laying on the ground. It wasn't broke.
Uh-uh.
The tree was
Was
bent.
completely bent over and it came back up a little bit.
And I'd probably say this tree was 20 feet, 30 feet
Oh,
tall,
easily.
25, 30 feet tall.
Easily.
You don't see that. You don't go out and see trees that are just whoop like that,
Yeah.
when
Uh-uh.
all the other trees around it are just straight up. You know?
Yeah.
Um, so I could imagine what people like kids going back to that conversation. I could imagine like a kid wandering around in the woods and then see it getting lost, getting scared, looking up, seeing a big hairy man. But why doesn't the kid run from the big hairy man? You know.
Seems like the kids, I mean, now I don't know, but from what I'm hearing, it almost seems like the kids aren't as traumatized as the adults are, because if they're just like, hey, that's what I identify as. Um, I think of like Monsters Inc., and she calls he's
Yeah,
Kitty, because that's
yeah,
it's big fuzzy, like what do you call it? You don't know what it is.
yeah,
It's Kitty. So to her, she identified it as that. And to another kid, big hairy man, a big bear, big whatever, that's what they know. But why do they, what, I mean, I haven't heard personally again, but it almost sounds like when they go to identify it, they don't sound like they're broken down, traumatized. They're just like, hey, I just got taken care of by this big thing.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, what I mean, kids I know have this ability, or you hear that these kids have. I've experienced this myself, and my daughter has experienced this. I know that other kids have had experiences this. Just hearing these stories, but kids see these things in a unseen dimension that I guess we cannot see as an adults. Not all the time can see. Um, and they're still learning what these things are. They don't
Mm-hmm.
know. They're not conditioned to suppress these things. Maybe at that time, um, because my daughter, she's seen, creatures and angels and stuff in the unseen, but there were certain entities that would literally drive fear into her. So it makes me think that these things or whatever that were snatching them weren't trying to put off that fear of
Mm.
a threat. It wasn't a threat at all. It was just scoop you up, not harming you, not hurting you, just scooping you up. You don't have no clue. So maybe they're not conditioned yet to
Mm.
fear something like that. I mean,
Mm.
I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
They still have a lot of that, blind innocence.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they just don't put two and two together. You're not conditioned to fear the woods, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or what's in the
Well,
woods.
well, that's. I mean, again, it's just making me think of things that are possibilities or a little bit out there, but still feasible. Is kids are seeing everything around them for the very first time,
Yeah,
and if and you hear a lot of people when they're older. Yeah, we've even said it ourselves about people opening up their third eye. You know, just opening up the mind to possibilities that seem outside of what we've been raised to believe, I guess is the best way to put it. Because there's adults right there. She's an adult, but she sees things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be through her third eye. But you talk to other people and they'll tell you, oh, that's a bunch of hogwash and that doesn't really happen and that's not true. And they're just trying to make money. It's like, no, it's real. It's true. Um, and maybe people with higher abilities like that have a higher chance of actually establishing somewhat of a more acknowledgement with Sasquatches or
Mm.
Bigfoots, because maybe they could pick up on the energy like you were saying, and maybe they can understand each other through their thoughts and through their energy more so
yeah,
than vocabulary and noises.
yeah.
I totally said that wrong. I said
Vocab,
vocabulary.
voc,
Vocabulary.
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 I need to work on
No,
my
no,
vocabulary.
there's nothing wrong with vocabulary.
No.
You know, ain't will be in there one day, right?
Yeah.
What the paranormal actually just said. Sorry, I put my mouse down to grab my drink, but
Yep.
so that cartoons make big creatures
Mm-hmm.
fun and silly, and a lot of times they're clouded with what's fake versus what's real.
That's true.
Yeah, it's
That's true.
fiction
That's a good
becomes
point.
reality, and reality becomes fake. It's I mean, that's what I'm saying. It gets to the part of we're conditioned. Once we get conditioned to this controlled by fear type state, we run into these things in the wood because it's always in the back of our mind, or something scary. There's a possibility of running into something scary. Or when you run, like we were talking about earlier, you run into something that your brain is trying to process it. You're not thinking, let me hurry up and put my phone out.
Right.
Because when I was out there, I was like, have my camera ready. I don't want to have it rolling, so I'm not going through hours and hours of footage, but have it ready so the second I see something, turn it on and like that. But you think, you're like, well, even if you had it rolling, you'd be in so much shock, you're not going to go, put the camera towards whatever you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless you can overcome that or whatever that is to,
That's where I get those little head mount, covert, spy guy type glasses where you got the camera pointing wherever you're looking.
I totally saw those the other day. You know what? And I wanted one so bad, and then I saw the price tag. They were $9,000. I was like, no, thank you. But they looked awesome. They looked so good until I saw the price tag, and I said, check, no,
Mm-hmm.
we're done.
Be very, very quiet.
Oh, wait.
Well, that little thing right there fits better than a lot of people probably realize. But I mean, again, it's really hard to know, but it's kind of fun to speculate and kind of go outside the realm of what is socially acceptable as truth versus opening up theories and ideas and things that really seem far-fetched, but there's still a hint of possibility in it because I believe there is.
Yeah. See, and you talk about seeing stuff, Marianne, you see these beings and stuff. They're in a different dimension or different, I call it the unseen. Not everybody can see these things. I've been able to see stuff as far back as I can remember since 8 years old till now. I still see these things. But even through seeing those things, when I saw that creature, just a part of that creature, because there were either one or two, because what I was describing, the one on the roof with the wings, and then these hyena-looking things. When I saw that, and seeing some of the weird creatures that I still can't even describe what I saw, and that was a fear. Yeah, that was a fear. But I was able to still function. But seeing what I saw there was a different. I'm trying to think how to word that. It was a different feeling. So it's like seeing what I've seen, and seeing what you've seen. Would it be different when you see something like a Bigfoot out in the woods? Because seeing what I saw, and see even the creatures that my dog at the time was chasing and trying to get, and even though it was, they're going to be able to attack it, but was trying to chase it and bark at it, and you could feel that presence and see that dark entity start to form itself inside the house. But yet, then when you see this other creature, that was the way I describe it is more in a physical realm than a spiritual realm. It put this different fear out that whether it's the the sound that y'all guys are talking about here in the chat, or what you guys were talking about, or it was just so much fear that it override your whole body. So, hey Rochelle.
Hey Rochelle.
Hey, hope you're doing good.
Still checking the folder for the footage. Wink, wink.
But I mean, so it did that. It raises a good question on that one, I think, because Marianne, you do see stuff. I know I've been seeing stuff since I was 8 years old, but when it comes to something like that, it's like it makes you think. Well, if I did see a Bigfoot out in the woods, how would I be? That's always in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Could this totally change my demeanor of how I go out and do my current videos with explorers? I mean, it could affect me going into buildings. I'm not going to go in there. Might be a Bigfoot in there.
A Bigfoot inside. Just pick the small buildings, the short buildings, with lots of spiders.
Oh my gosh! I mean, he'd be crawling.
Geez.
You don't know. Yeah, no, they're spiders.
That was
spiders.
Yeah, that one got me.
Spiders.
And if you guys
I'll
don't know what I'm
let
talking
Rochelle
about,
do that one.
There you go. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, Rooted Expeditions just put out a video. What was it, yesterday? Or
I think so. Was it yesterday?
was it yesterday?
I
Put it out,
think so. Yeah, Tuesday.
and spiders galore.
Oh my
We'll just put it at
gosh.
that. Go check it out. And
If you want to be creeped out, if you hate spiders, that's a creepy one.
I mean, there was
Mhm.
literally thousands, and
Yes.
not just daddy long legs, but I mean, there were so many that it didn't look like there was anything there. That's how weird to describe it.
Yeah.
'Cause if you didn't look, you wouldn't have known. But they were covered like that was the wallpaper.
Yikes.
The wall just moved. No, it didn't. There's spiders.
This is why the building hasn't fallen down yet. They're keeping it together.
Get a match.
I was going to say, get a torch.
I could have this building leveled in 8 seconds. That includes the 5 seconds it takes to get out of there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, do we need to really find and understand Bigfoot? Part of me says no. Part of me says that it's been doing what it's been doing this long. We've been doing what we've been doing this long, and it hasn't. I mean, you hear about shark attacks and bear attacks and tiger attacks and all these animal attacks going on all over the world. And you do hear of missing people and stuff like that, but they really, from what I understand, and I might just be misinformed, but they really don't engage with us in any way, shape, or form. They avoid us. Unless they, again,
Are
except for those
provoked.
rare moments like with Carrie, standing face to face with one, Carrie Spikes Jr., having that experience. And, some other people out there that I fully believe what they're telling because you could just hear it in their voice. You could hear
yeah.
the
Yeah,
tone.
and that's the thing. You hear that fear that you know that it's like, why would even somebody make something like this up? Why?
Right.
You know?
And, I've heard the conversation come back and forth a few times as well that, we are cocky and we say we're the dominant
Alpha
species,
male.
Yeah.
and they say, well, no, that's not true. I mean, there could be an argument both ways with that because, for one-on-one, hand-to-hand combat, they would take us out.
Yeah. In a hurry.
But then again, so would a bear, so would a tiger, so would a lion, so would an alligator, so would a lot of other animals out there. The thing is that we've developed weapons, we've developed bombs, and we've developed tools that we utilize, and those tools are what is making us, on one level or another, become the alpha, because we can destroy threats before they're even close to us.
Yeah.
Now, with Bigfoot, I believe they are highly intelligent from what the stories I've heard and the interactions as I've heard people have with them. I believe they're very stealth. I believe they can move very quietly through long distances in a very short amount of time. And I believe that they've learned how to work with nature instead of against nature. And if there was any single lesson that I wish we as humans can learn as a mass instead of individual, is to learn how to live with the nature instead of trying to work against it constantly.
Exactly. Well said.
Um, in that aspect, I believe that they are more advanced than us because they've learned how to live with Mother Nature instead of against it. We strip it down, drill holes in it, pull things out of the ground, melt it down, and make kids' toys.
Yeah. And also, uh, speaking of nature, being the woods is their home, the forest is their home, and people are like, well, how would they know where we're at? It's if somebody does a move, like you said before, if somebody moves a picture in your house to a different spot or takes the picture down, somebody's going to notice. Somebody's going to notice that, or if there's dirt on the floor, somebody's going to notice that because something's different. So, I mean, that really, to me has been a big eye opener. That knowing that when I do go in the woods, they already know I'm there. That
Mhm.
for every step that I take, every branch that I break, they know. I mean, that's just what I would think they would know. I mean, if you're living, that's all you do. You live there all the time. You know your home. You know your area. You're gonna know if anything changes.
I know some humans that are that exact same way. I go to the cookie cabinet, I open up the cabinet, I pick up a cookie, think about eating it, put it back, and walk away. She will go back into the kitchen later, open that cookie cabinet, and say, "That cookie is moved." Okay, maybe
Only
not
with
that.
cookies,
Maybe,
though.
well, yeah, maybe not that extreme, but uh, she memorizes her environment. If I say, "Hey,
Hmm.
do you remember where I left my wallet?" She'll close her eyes and she'll mentally walk through the house until she finds it. Then when she finds it mentally, she'll open her eyes and either say it's right here or she'll just go and grab it.
Sometimes I just stare off into space. I don't actually close my eyes.
And
Like,
that's
wait.
true. She'll be mid sentence. So I was wanting to talk to you about something really important.
I probably look like that too.
Then it was, oh, I'm sorry, what was I saying? Something really important, apparently.
Carrie,
I'm
Carrie
just
does the
finding
same thing.
stuff.
Yep.
It, yeah,
That's funny.
Yep.
but I mean, we know where everything is at in our house, and most people do. You know where you keep certain tools. You know where you keep your food. You know where you keep. You know how to keep. You know where everything is, and so with the forest being their house, I mean, we were
Mhm.
talking at one point about strapping trail cameras to trees, and seeing if that catches more of them. But they would, I personally think they would recognize there's a trail camera strapped to a
Oh
tree.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and there was conversation about them actually being able to see infrared light. So at
So
nighttime,
it wouldn't
they
work.
walk behind those trees instead of in front of it because they see the light shining right there in front of them.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It's like, how would they know though? That's what really gets you thinking. It's like, how do they know? They're so intelligent. Like, there's a lot of questions.
Well, if they're
And
so grounded to the forest environment and they're so sensitive to changes in their area and everything like that. I mean, we talked earlier about how their eyes could be completely different. So it might what stealth to us may be like a big old red flag with fireworks coming out of it for them. We think we're all being smart and stuff,
what
and
is
look
this
at this,
guy
but
doing?
we're used to tracking other animals and humans, but not something that's smarter than us and more grounded in nature than us. You
Mhm.
Like,
know.
hey, Frank, come here. Come look at this guy. Look at this guy in a ghillie suit. He thinks he got leaves on him. I see him. I see him.
See
Here,
'em.
let's throw another rock at him.
I ain't gonna hurt you.
I'm just going to scare you.
We're not here to hurt you. Hurry, throw another rock. That's for you, Mike. You're still here.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Looks like what the paranormal. I think they just sit back and laugh at us.
Yeah.
Probably.
I sit back and watch drunk people, and I wonder if humans look like they're drunk to them. It's like, what are you
You know what?
doing?
It very possibly be. I'm sitting here, was on the trail, and I'm sitting here trying to talk to the camera, and I'm following Amy and Gary, and I'm like, I think I even mentioned, I'm like, I'm talking too loud or I'm talking too much. And I was like, I don't know what else to do. I guess I talk a lot when I get nervous or something. So I'm out there just talking.
There you have it, everybody. In his videos, when he's getting nervous, it's when he won't shut up. And there's very few cuts between the set words.
Laughing a lot too. Laughing a lot. Well, I laugh all the time, so it's real hard to know.
Yeah, that
Depending
one.
on the situation.
Do you want to read that one?
Paul says we encroach in their habitat unprepared and we're at their mercy. They know not to encroach on ours because they know we do have life-taking technology. They know this from years and years of observation.
Yeah.
I can see that. Absolutely. I
Well,
can absolutely see that.
And I've heard a lot of stories, and this is me listening, I've heard a lot of stories of people being taken at camp at night while they're in
Mm-hmm.
their sleeping bag, and having to fend for their lives to get out of that situation. But it seemed like usually a lot of those were when they were pretty far from civilization, like pretty far.
Hmm.
So, and that's scary. I mean, to be out there camping and to be in the middle of the night tracked away, you know, either ripped from your tent or dragged away in your sleeping bag, you know, I mean, gosh, without your boots, you got to
Mm-hmm.
run back without your boots,
Hmm.
it's not for the tender feeted people.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah,
So,
we've gotten soft in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Mm. That goes right back to what I was saying, though. I mean, they're they're living with nature.
Mm-hmm.
We're fighting nature. I mean, our shoes.
Yeah.
We don't want to stub our toe. We don't want to poke our foot with a twig. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to drop a steel plate on my toe.
Well,
I've
you kind
done,
of don't want to do
I
that.
I did do that, and I
So did
shattered my
I.
foot.
I've done
Ow.
that too, and I messed up my toe, so I started wearing steel-toed boots for quite a long time after that. Until I realized it was giving me back problems. So,
Shoot.
totally different conversation. But yeah, let's see. I'm ready to
Tenderfoot.
go home.
Tenderfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Tenderfoot. But again, it's what's this one? Ronnie says, or someone that has weapons but too afraid to shoot or forget they have one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's why people in the military are trained so much and so hard for so long. Is that when it comes to the time when they have to defend themselves, as a reaction more than a thought process. You just raise your gun and shoot because you know it's a threat, and if you don't take them out first, they're going to take you out. It's not, well, what if he has a wife? What if this person has a kids? What if this and that? And it's just an instinct instead of a thought process. With Bigfoot, though, I personally don't think anybody should be hunting one down to shoot it. Um, I really don't see the point. I know that some people would argue, I'd shoot one just to have the body to say, here's your evidence, here's your proof that Bigfoot exists. Here's the body. Go and dissect it. But honestly, and I think we know the government quite well. And if you pull out a body of Bigfoot, the government's going to come in. They're going to nicely pick it up and they're going to take it away. And then they're going to deny everything you say and make you look like a nut job.
Yeah, and I strongly believe in that. I strongly believe in whatever anybody else says. That is something that I'm gonna really stick to until it can be proven that it's not. Because I really am a strong believer that that's why we have all these. One of the reasons why we have these national forests, why we have these places that are protected, um, and it's and another reason why a body hasn't really been found. Is because you go and sit here and mention that. I mean, that's why I say if you find one, make sure you tell a whole bunch of people at once that are credible,
Mm-hmm.
that will be able to disperse that. So once you pull that cat out of the bag, it ain't like, hey, I need you to, start getting on the phone. No, record that and start sending it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and start digitally, like make a digital copy of that so it's not erased off of, your
Mm.
computer or anything,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the scary truth. But the thing is, I mean, just be prepared to have your whole life ruined. I mean, it very possibly
Exactly.
could be. They could
Yeah.
they could ruin your whole life, make any story they want about you. It don't
Yeah.
matter. Do anything, make
And
charges on you.
make you disappear and say you were just crazy and the whole
Yeah,
thing. Everyone
yeah,
it just discredits the whole thing. Yeah.
yeah. Oh well, he
Oh
he
yeah.
died of natural causes. Yeah.
Uh
16
Okay.
bullets to the head.
huh. Isn't
The
that
lead,
natural
ca-
to blood out?
lead came from nature. It was just modified a little bit.
Yeah, he was eating lead for breakfast. Yep.
He was getting out of bed, slipped, and hung himself. Oops.
Yeah, and Paul makes a good point. He says, Zach, my opinion of people being ripped from their tents is that their people encroach. in too far into their territory, and that feels like a threat. And I
Mm.
totally believe that. I think that's I mean, makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. They're not deliberately coming into towns and coming into into the city or into people's homes and trying to. I mean, I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but you're not seeing a lot of those cases or hearing about a lot of those cases. So,
Right.
I mean, Paul makes a good point.
Well, again, a lot of these we don't know. We're just kind of talking and jumping around with theories and everything else. And I could see how a lot of them would make sense and how a lot of them could possibly tie together to give us an understanding of what might be happening as a whole. Um, the conversation about being ripped out of your tent and things like that, and them feeling like we're encroaching too much. What if you're out hunting, you were shooting at a deer, your scope was off or whatever, your bullet missed the deer, but way back in the woods somewhere else, you shot one of them? And out of anger or revenge or whatever, another one comes back and gets you at your weakest moment when you're asleep, out of revenge because you
Yeah,
shot one of them.
and that could be very possibly because I mean, that's pretty much what a human figure does.
Because you're a threat. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, Rochelle makes has a good point or question. Anyone else hear that the theory their hearing is so sensitive that they can feel batteries and electricity in the air? Sounds like a good explanation for never having evidence. But see,
Yes.
that makes sense.
It
It
does make
does.
sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And that's kind of goes back
That's
to
a
what we were
good
talking
point,
about the
Rochelle.
trail cams,
Yeah.
because, not only would it become painfully out of place for them, but seeing that, hearing the mechanics,
Yep.
that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and that's just it. I mean, I know ghosts exist. I mean, I'm kind of going back to what Paul was saying here, speculation and trying to make sense of it. Josh, I can see that being a reality. Um, and that's kind of why this conversation flows all over the place is because I have seen a ghost. I know spirits are a reality, but I cannot go up to a skeptic and say, I had this experience,
Mm-hmm.
I saw it, therefore you must believe.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, even though I saw it, I don't understand what fully I saw as far as is it a ball of energy? Is it a manipulation of the air? Is it the way that it controls the light bending around it? Is it, I don't fully understand what it
Yeah.
is. I just know what I experienced when I saw it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Bigfoot is, you know what you saw, you know what you felt, you know what you experienced, but you still don't fully know what it is. And that's why these conversations really can flow on forever because I mean look into carbon based life forms and then start looking beyond that and say what if there's a life form that was beyond carbon based.
Hmm.
I mean, imagine the things that could be around us all the time, and we don't recognize it, we don't see it, and we don't experience it because it's not carbon based. I mean, it blow your mind if you really start diving into that.
Yeah.
At least it did mine.
The thought alone already kind of exploded my brain.
And
Um,
I truly believe there's things in the unseen that we can't see around us.
Oh yeah.
I mean, all
Yeah.
around us. And I truly believe that just from personal experience. But it's our own experiences is why we believe. We're trying to make people aware, but at the same time, like you said, you can't go to a skeptic and throw it down their throat. They're not going to eat it.
right.
They're going to
Yeah.
have to experience it themselves. And there's people that experience it themselves, but still want to be in denial. I mean,
There really is.
Absolutely.
But like Gypsy Road says right here, we need more open-minded people. Well, I truly feel that there has already been a beginning of a shift in the world as far as people being more open-minded. Because I would say probably what 20 years ago, you would not talk about seeing a ghost. You would not talk really very much about haunted locations or going and trying to find ghosts because you'd be classified as Satan worshiping or something way out of control. But nowadays, people are interested in it. People are like, man, that would be so fun, or yeah, I did it, or yeah, this, so people are more open to ghost hunting. People are more open to the possibility about alien life. The internet opening up allows communication with so many more people across the planet that is not controlled by the news population.
Yes. Very
So you
important.
can have one-on-one conversations with people who have had experiences and find comparisons. That has opened people's minds. Accepting that we don't know opens people's minds.
Yep.
A lot of people want to have all the answers. A lot of people want to say, "This is how it is," and if you can't prove me wrong, then that's the end of the story. Well,
Yeah.
the next person could prove you wrong, then you look like an idiot to the last 100 people you said that to.
I think all the stuff that we're all learning, and the people that are opening their minds, the people that are awoke, and starting to learn all this stuff, I believe is a recap of what happened a long time ago. I believe a long time ago we all knew this, but it's been suppressed and suppressed and suppressed, and now it's like, I mean, it's just, I feel like it's like I forgot, I can't think of the word, but it's like we're relearning what we already knew a long, 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 long time ago, our ancestors a long, long time ago, that was just censored for control. So, and once you open your mind and you see that, you start to learn that as all of us as one people, we're more powerful than the things that we have already created.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I think we surprised all of us, including each other, because we are already past our 1 hour mark, and honestly, I think this conversation
That's a
could.
celebratory drink. Like, woohoo, we made it.
I honestly think that this conversation could go even farther with this, but it's really cool to know that we can have these conversations and reach outside the realm of socially accepted thoughts and ideas and say, what if? What if? What if? What if it
Right.
isn't this? What if it is that? Because those what ifs are going to probably more of a catalyst for us to help find the answers than the no, that's not possible. No, that's not real. No, that don't happen. You know.
We've all seen not possible before in other areas.
Mhm.
Every
that,
one of us has experienced a not possible moment in their life at least once. So I absolutely agree with that.
Mhm. So we're going to end the topic on that for today. I do want to shout out to everybody who's been hanging out in the chat. Thank you again, Mike's Adventures, for that super
Yes,
sticker.
thank you
That
so
definitely
much.
helps. I'm probably dealing with a little bit of heat stroke because I've been out working on the trailer all day.
Yeah.
Minus running to the hardware. I do have some videos I'm going to be uploading. Um, I'm kind of gutting and prepping the trailer for when we do get the money to buy the paneling and everything. So when we get the supplies in, we can put it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing all the gross work first. And I'll get those videos up. We also have a video coming out this Friday, which we're expecting to be really epic.
they surprised me. I guess I'm the guest tonight, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I was like, well, I don't know anything about Bigfoot.
But look how our conversation went.
Yeah, it came out really good tonight.
I mean,
did.
it doesn't
Yeah.
even seem like we've been on here for an hour.
No.
So, I
Went
mean,
by pretty fast.
that's really the nice thing about these kind of conversations is that we can really tackle theories, and if there's anybody in the chat who would like to be on an episode of this Learning Bigfoot, if you want to be up here talking with us, sharing your experiences, sharing your theories, even if you don't think you know anything about Bigfoot, well, you're in the perfect crowd. Okay. We don't know anything about Bigfoot, but we're trying to learn as much as we can about what we can and theorize and speculate. So if you do want to come on the show, please send us an email at tipatvofficial@gmail.com and just put in the title Learning Bigfoot. And we'll get you scheduled on one of these shows. We'll sit down and we'll talk with you even more about what we've been talking about for the last hour and 4 minutes.
Yes. And Jeff, if you're still in here hanging out, please be careful in the Uintas tomorrow. We are going to be headed up to the Uintas one of these days for kind of a little explore, see if we can find some Bigfoot tracks, because I hear that's a hot area. We're just down the Utah road from you. I mean, so just be safe out there if you're still in here. That's all I had to say.
Bigfoot Odyssey says, "Nice hat, Zach."
Yeah, you like it? It's my Oldfield hat.
And it's still working hard.
Still working hard. Yep.
But with that, again, thank you for everybody who's tuning in. Thank you for everybody who's supporting us. If you do want to learn more about this trailer project that we dove in the middle of, go over to our Tippa Family Vlog channel and subscribe over there. I have no idea what I'm doing with this trailer, but I'm doing it anyway. As safe as I can.
Yes.
With a budget of 0.
Yes.
So I'm doing really good.
We're getting super creative, and it's going to be epic.
Yeah. And just shoot us a message for next week. If you want to be on next week's show or a future show, let us. Holy crap.
Wow. That's awesome, Michelle.
Rochelle. Thank you.
Girl, thank you so much.
You're amazing. You're absolutely amazing. So we're going to close out on that before we, yeah. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Be safe, everyone.
Bye.